It's so interesting how you describe it. I mean, this is what we're seeing today, as I mentioned, or that's how I see it. I mean, you've observed your uncle for more than 50 years, for better or worse. And I know it's been worse at many times.
There is some focus on Donald because he and I grew up, although in different generations, in the same family. And I had the great misfortune of sort of watching how all of that unfolded. Donald is as bad as he's always been. This is somebody who's never evolved. This is somebody who seems worse behaviorally simply because he's being given more opportunities to be worse.
Donald Trump's niece calls his marriage a brand strategy, hinting at a cold, calculated partnership rather than a love story. But the bombshell is Mary Trump's claim that Melania might be taking notes, literally on everything. Could she be planning her exit armed with secrets that would destroy him? This story's twist might even shock Trump himself. Before we move on, I will like you to subscribe to the channel and like the video. What if Donald Trump and Melania's marriage isn't about love, but about business? According to Mary Trump, the relationship is like a corporate contract dressed up in designer clothes. She describes it as a brand strategy, which is a polite way of saying it might be more about deals and power than date nights and heartfelt vows. The idea is simple. Their marriage benefits both of them, but not in the hearts and flowers sense. Mary Trump sees a partnership designed to boost their public image, align their ambitions, and maintain their separate lives behind the scenes. Romantic? Maybe not. Effective? Well, that's debatable too.
But in terms of his functioning on a cognitive level, absolutely there's been deterioration. I mean, Donald is somebody who has had severe psychiatric disorders for decades. When he talks about how enthusiastic the crowd at the debate was, he's probably talking about himself. He was his audience for that debate in many ways. And I think he's being pushed further and further because of Vice President Harris's success, because of his own failures, into a world that is more delusional.
Let's break down why Mary Trump, who doesn't exactly hold back punches when it comes to her uncle, makes this claim. From the outside, Trump and Melania have tried to present themselves as a high-power couple, a businessman turned president and his sophisticated, fashion-forward wife. They've been photographed at galas, campaign rallies, exchanging smiles that look more like they required coaching than chemistry. But Mary alleges that this carefully rehearsed public image hides the truth. Their relationship functions more as a transaction. He gets the glamorous trophy wife in photographs to match his brand, and Melania, well, let's just say she's getting something very specific in return: comfort, security, and perhaps leverage that's hidden in plain sight. This accusation clashes sharply with the narrative Trump often tries to sell. Who could forget the way he praised Melania during his presidency? Always the polished gentleman on stage, he proudly referred to her as elegant and the most incredible first lady.
His nonsense is untranslatable. So what ends up happening, because human beings need to make meaning of things, is that certain reporters and journalists end up imbuing Donald's meaningless statements.
It's the sane washing of all of it, which is so interesting. The audience of him is I didn't think of it that way, but makes a lot of sense.
I hope that more media outlets allow us to hear what Donald's actually saying instead of taking it upon themselves to quote unquote translate him.
These surface compliments don't seem to match what we've seen off the stage. Like that moment that went viral when Melania was seen swatting his hand away as they walked together. This wasn't the only time either. If anything, it became something of a recurring meme that summed up their interactions. And then there's Melania's less than enthusiastic body language during his speeches or her stone-faced reactions during public appearances. These moments suggest that supportive may not be the word that comes to mind when describing their dynamic. So what makes their marriage a brand strategy in Mary Trump's eyes? For one, she points to Melania's calculated silence. Unlike Trump, who never saw a microphone he didn't want to yell into, Melania has perfected the art of saying very little, and that's not a coincidence. Mary suggests her choice to stay quiet may be strategic. Melania avoids controversy by keeping her opinions to herself, and limits the risk of her words being used against her. And when she does speak, it's often so overly rehearsed and neutral that it's hard to even tell how she really feels. This silence, according to Mary, protects her reputation, while allowing Trump to spin their marriage however he needs to for his own public benefit. Then there's Trump's obsession with appearances, which Mary says plays directly into this strategy. His fixation on control and looking powerful creates the ideal backdrop for Melania's role. She's like the picture frame that doesn't outshine the painting, but perfectly complements it. Trump can't afford to look vulnerable or out of control, especially not in a marriage. By maintaining their partnership as a glossy, untouchable power image, he gets to keep up the facade of dominance.
All begins with your grandfather.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
You say he's a sociopath.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
He had no empathy. I would have been painted as a disgruntled, disinherited niece who just wanted her 15 minutes, which obviously is still being said about me now, which makes it incredibly...
What does that mean?
It means that certain feelings were not allowed.
But here's where it gets tricky. If Melania deliberately plays along, as Mary suggests, her silence and composure might be less about supporting him and more about holding on to an edge of her own. This brings us to an interesting question. What if Melania isn't just a cooperative partner in this strategy, but someone who's orchestrating her own plan? Mary hints that Melania's loyalty might come with an expiration date, one that serves her best interests when the time is right. If the partnership was indeed set up as a business agreement, who's to say Melania hasn't spent years preparing for the moment when that deal no longer benefits her? She might look like she's sticking to her role, but what happens when she decides to call her own shots? Melania already showed signs she's not afraid to negotiate for herself. Back in 2016, after Trump secured the presidency, it was widely reported that Melania delayed her move to the White House. Officially, the excuse was that she wanted to let their son, Barron, finish out his school year. But insiders claimed that behind the scenes, she used this delay to renegotiate her prenuptial agreement with Donald. If Mary's right, this could be the sort of move that shows Melania knows how to bide her time and how to change the rules in her favor when needed. What's fascinating about this dynamic is that if it's true, Melania might be keeping her cards so close to her chest that Trump himself has no idea what's coming. Mary Trump paints a picture not so much of a passive first lady, but of a long game strategist who knows how to survive in Trump's world of paranoia and control. For someone who thrives on keeping others on their toes, the thought of Melania quietly building up leverage would be enough to make Trump break out in one of his classic Twitter rants. Oh wait, he doesn't have that anymore. The cracks in this facade started showing a long time ago. Trump's obsession with control and his fear of looking weak might have built the image of a power couple. But if Melania is as strategic as Mary Trump believes, the real control could be slipping through his hands. After all, partnerships based on convenience or business don't tend to end in fairy tales. It's not a question of whether the arrangement will crumble, it's a matter of when. And now, we have to wonder, could Melania's next move leave Trump scrambling like never before? Could Melania Trump be quietly plotting a massive power move? That's the bomb Mary Trump just dropped, suggesting Melania isn't just sitting in silence, but strategically documenting everything. Think about it. What if the First Lady who vanished into the background is actually taking notes behind closed doors, gathering intel, and patiently waiting for her moment? If this is true, the results could redefine messy breakup on a whole new level. Now, Melania has often been seen as passive, like she's just going along for the ride in Trump's chaotic world. But Mary Trump hints at a deeper game, one where Melania isn't as checked out as she seems.
I wanted to play for you to this point. I mean, he seemed surprised, this week, Trump, that a woman could be doing better than him on the stage, better than a man.
They put her in, and she's somehow a woman. Somehow she's doing better than he did.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine it can last.
Well, we are a family of misogynists. Even many of the women in my family were misogynists.
According to Mary, Melania might be positioning herself to flip the whole Trump empire upside down, and not on a whim, but with enough preparation to make it, well, waterproof. She describes Melania as documenting everything behind that icy exterior. What does that mean exactly? Financial transactions, personal moments, insider information. It's like imagining someone calmly packing for a spectacular escape while everyone else is scrambling. Part of what makes this idea so fascinating is Melania's ability to stay an enigma. This isn't someone airing grievances on social media or throwing public shade through interviews. Her silence has always been her armor, and in an environment dominated by Trump's paranoia, that silence doesn't just shield her from his blowups, it gives her the upper hand. Mary once said, Melania didn't just learn to live with the mask, she learned how to disappear behind it. It's unnerving to think about how little we actually know about what goes on in her head or behind closed doors. Mary's description of Melania watching and waiting becomes eerier the more you notice how strategically Melania distances herself while staying just involved enough to keep everyone guessing. Take her renegotiation of the prenup as Trump entered the White House back in 2017. The official story was all about timing. She was waiting for Barron to finish school before moving into the White House. But insiders hinted there was more to the delay. The rumor was that she refused to budge until she had secured a financial deal that worked better for her. It's a revealing glimpse into how Melania operates, quietly, but effectively, and always when it counts the most. Melania has operational stealth down to an art form. Over the years, she's crafted an image that fades into the background, while everyone else around her grabs the spotlight. But if Mary's right, that's not passivity, it's strategy. Consider the strange living arrangements during Trump's presidency. Reports claimed Melania stayed in her own suite, separate from Trump's, even while in the White House. It's not exactly the image of a united couple. While everyone speculated about why she was physically and quite frankly emotionally checked out, Melania might have used this space to quietly build her own layer of independence. It's like the quiet kid in school, overlooked until report card day, when suddenly they've aced every test. The idea that Melania could be packing metaphorically, legally, and financially takes things to another level. Mary keeps circling back to this image of her taking stock of the chaos, staying silent, and methodically preparing for the day things no longer benefit her.
Part of this, too, is just Donald once again failing the cognitive test. He just cannot exist in a world where he isn't always the winner. He's still suffering from the narcissistic injury Vice President Harris inflicted on him at the first debate, which will be the only debate. Recognizing himself as a loser is almost impossible. Being a loser was absolutely the worst thing you could be in my family. I mean, it was lethal to be a loser in my family.
And let's be honest, you can see it. This is a person who seems to prioritize her survival before anything else. Even her role as First Lady appeared carefully limited, from her plagiarized speech at the RNC, which looked more like a copy and paste rush job, to her Be Best campaign, which nobody could explain or even remember. It all felt intentionally muted. She put in the minimum effort, avoided risks, and stayed in Trump's shadow just enough to be protected but not consumed. Now imagine what she could be storing up for the day she decides to flip the table. Marytrump suspects it goes far beyond a quiet exit. We've seen Trump go to war with everyone from Michael Cohen to Omarosa, but a tell-all book or legal action from Melania, that might be the one move he never saw coming. What if she's been documenting everything and waiting for the perfect moment to flip the whole empire upside down? That's Mary's wild take, and it sounds less like speculative gossip and more like a framework Melania has actually been laying down. Trump's public life is already a swirling cocktail of lawsuits and chaos, and one more leak or a massive legal challenge could send everything toppling. But the fact that this might come from someone in his own house is where it gets messy. Imagine the headlines, the fallout, and most of all, Trump's reaction. A closed-door betrayal rooted in years of careful calculation isn't the kind of attack he's used to handling. Sure, he loves a fight, but he prefers a public brawl where he can tweet about nasty people or claim victimhood to rally his base. If Melania stays as quiet while striking as she's been in preparation, it could catch him completely off guard. Now, we've got to ask, not just what is Melania planning, but why it terrifies Trump so much. If she knows him better than anyone, she knows exactly what buttons to push and how hard to push them. Every move Trump makes seems rooted in fear. Fear of losing control, fear of being humiliated, or just fear of not being seen as powerful. And the silent unpredictability of Melania, that might feed right into his worst nightmares. Maybe the storm that takes him down isn't the political scandals or the criminal investigations. Maybe it's coming from the woman he dismissed as just an accessory in his brand. And here's the kicker. What if she's been planning it all along? Why does Donald Trump act the way he does? According to his niece, Mary Trump, you can trace it right back to his childhood. And honestly, it's not pretty. Mary claims that Trump didn't just grow up learning to roll the dice in the business world. No, his childhood was basically a crash course in survival, taught by a father she flat out describes as a sociopath. Fred Trump wasn't exactly the let's toss the ball around in the yard kind of dad.
It's so interesting how you describe it. I mean, this is what we're seeing today, as I mentioned, or that's how I see it. I mean, you've observed your uncle for more than 50 years, for better or worse, and I know it's been worse at many times.
It all begins with your grandfather.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
You say he's a sociopath.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
He had no empathy.
I wanted to play for you to this point. I mean, he seemed surprised, this week, Trump, that a woman could be doing better than him on the stage, better than a man.
He was more like the here's how you weaponize control type, and it shaped Donald in ways that, let's just say, aren't winning him any family therapy awards. Here's the thing, during Donald's formative years, his mother, Mary Ann, was out of commission for quite a while because of a serious illness. In most homes, a two-parent safety net would soften that blow, but this wasn't most homes. That left young Donald at the mercy of Fred, who didn't score too high on the nurturing scale. Mary Trump claims that Fred exploited Donald's weaknesses, turning what should have been childhood quirks into liabilities. Love? Support? Forget it. According to Mary, those weren't really Fred's style. This environment created a Donald Trump who not only didn't expect emotional support, he learned to see it as a weakness. In those early years, with mom absent and dad reigning supreme, Donald picked up lessons most kids don't get assigned. For example, if you love someone, you're vulnerable. Or, relationships aren't about trust, they're about winning. These aren't bedtime stories, they're survival lessons Fred Trump might as well have trademarked. By the time he left home, Donald wasn't armed with warm memories or the comfort of a parent's unconditional love. What he left with was a hardwired instinct to treat every interaction as a transaction. Emotional attachment? Not on his watch. This transactional mindset stayed with him, whether he's making a real estate deal, running for president, or yes, being someone's husband. Let's talk about how this bizarre childhood tees up his marriage to Melania. Mary Trump argues that Donald's relationships have always been an extension of his power play mentality, and it's hard to argue against it when you see the evidence. Remember, this is a guy whose brand is literally built on looking invincible. Why else would he slap his name on everything from buildings to steaks? And his obsession with appearances doesn't stop there. His marriage to Melania fits right into this framework. She's the polished, camera-ready counterpart who makes him look good. Supportive? Glamorous accessory. Bingo. It's a strategy, not sentiment. But here's where it gets interesting. Mary Trump suggests that the real motivation behind Donald's need for control isn't just about looking powerful, it's about hiding his fear of being ordinary. According to Mary, Trump is very insecure and, get this, very afraid. These aren't words most people associate with someone who's branded themselves as the ultimate alpha male. It's a little ironic, really. The louder and more aggressive he gets, the more you start to see what's underneath. A man terrified of being forgotten, or worse, ignored. Aggression and paranoia, those are just shields. Deep down, the guy's running on fear. This fear explains a lot, especially when it comes to how he operates in his own home. For Donald, relationships might seem like partnerships on the surface, but they're really just another arena for control. Think about it. If love is a weakness in Trump's world, and Mary insists he was raised to believe this, then marriage itself becomes less of a romantic act and more of a chess game. Melania's role isn't to challenge him emotionally or intellectually, it's to be the queen in his game of appearances, staying just powerful enough to enhance the image, but not enough to threaten the king. But what Mary Trump reveals, that his paranoia and need for control are rooted in his childhood fear of irrelevance, makes Melania's potential power moves even more sinister from Trump's perspective. If his entire identity is tied to being larger than life, what happens when his partner, the one who knows all his secrets and weaknesses, turns the tables? Forget political rivals or courtroom dramas. The most catastrophic perfect scenario for Trump might be an insider betrayal, especially if that betrayal comes from someone he underestimated. And let's face it, Melania is all about being underestimated. This isn't just speculation. We've already seen glimpses of Melania playing by her own rules, whether she's negotiating her prenup or staying minimally involved in Trump's public chaos. Mary Trump's idea that she's quietly documenting everything, a possible roadmap to a future fallout, is almost poetic when you line it up with Donald's childhood need for control. The boy who learned to use power as a weapon is now a man who might be outflanked by someone who stayed quiet, stayed unnoticed, and stayed ready. The irony here is hard to ignore. For someone who built his life around power plays, every decision Trump makes seems to highlight his greatest insecurity, losing that power. His actions scream dominance, but his foundation is fear. Maybe that's what makes the potential moves from Melania so terrifying. He knows she's close enough to understand exactly where his vulnerabilities lie. And if Mary Trump's right, Melania flipping the script might not just rattle Trump, it could completely unhinge him. Could Melania be the one to challenge Trump in a way no one else has dared? Mary Trump seems to think so. Her silence, often written off as passivity, might be the calm before the storm. When the final mistake is made, she won't walk away quietly. She'll flip the table. That image shifts Melania from a quiet bystander to a potentially explosive insider. Imagine the chaos if Trump's greatest political threat came from his own bedroom. At the end of the day, this isn't just about politics or business. It's a battle for power and survival where the stakes couldn't be higher.